the last session of the day, which is about a GRUS demo session, including multi-criteria decision analysis. Professor Pascale Zarate is going to present us her tool that she's developing at her university. This is the result of the implementation of the tool during several secondments. So now we will see how the tool is applicable in the agri-food sector. So Pascale, whenever you want.
Okay, George, thank you. So thank you everybody to join this session. So I will share my screen. Okay. You can see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so hello everybody. So I am Pascale Zarate, and I am very pleased to present you today the results that and the researches that we conducted during the third 4 years of the RUCAP project within the work package number 12. So, sorry.
Yeah, you were to the end. You need to go to the first slide.
Yeah, sorry.
Just in case.
Okay. So my name is Pascale Zarate. I am professor at University Toulouse 1 Capitol, professor of information technology. And I hold a PhD and habilitation à diriger des recherches in computer science. I am also a researcher at IRIT in Toulouse, and I am in the Artificial Intelligence department, for which I am co-manager. As a researcher, I am also coordinator of the Euro Working Group on Decision Support System. And I am also editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Decision Support System Technologies. So you have here the link of my webpage and my ORCID number. So my university, University Toulouse 1 Capitol, is located in Toulouse, as you can see here in the southwest of France. We have around 24,000 students. It is located in the city center. So we have 3 main buildings in the city center. And it is mainly a University of Law, Management and Economy. We have a very famous Toulouse School of Economy with the Nobel Prize in Economy in 2014, Jean Tirole. And I am in the Information Technology faculty, in which we have several masters, several PhD students and PhD programs. So as I told you previously, I am also a researcher, and my research are conducted at IRIT, which is the main information technology research actor in France. I think it is the biggest one. So it includes 700 persons in computer science, including researchers, administrative staff, and students, master students and PhD students. It is composed by 7 departments, and I am in the Artificial Intelligence department, in which you can find 3 teams. One team is called Adria, in which I am, and we are working on decision reasoning and uncertainty and fuzzy sets. Another team, Melody, on text mining, and another one, Lilac, on logic on symbolic AI. So I will go now to the team involved in the RUCAP project. So we are mainly 3 of us. So Amir Saka here in the middle, who is a PhD student, Guy Camilleri, who is an associate professor at the University Paul Sabatier. And we are working together on decision-making, decision support systems, multi-criteria decision-making, group decision-making, collaborative decision-making. So I am in charge of the work package number 12, which is mainly facilitation and participatory based decision support system. So in this work package, our main objective was to design and implement a group decision support systems to assist decision-making processes in horticultural and agricultural production. Based on this system, we wanted also to evaluate it by several experiments that we conducted with our partners. So for that, we have three main tasks. So first of all, develop scenario, then develop the adequate facilitation for the system, and then find the right methodology and apply it. So what we did during these three first years, so in the first year, what we did, we developed the scenario. So we defined the scenario in which we were working on. We developed the system. So the system is called GRUS, like group support. So based on that, during the second year, what we did, we conducted several experiments with several partners, and we have feedback about the usability of the system. So based on this feedback on the third year, what we did, we improved the system and we conducted more experiments. And what we wanted to do during the last year, it was to find the appropriate methodology to use it, and it will be done after the coronavirus problem. So first of all, I would like to come back to some definition about decision support and what is decision making. So to support decision making in general, we can do it with rational methodologies, like for example, multi-criteria evaluation. So it means that you have several alternatives that you can evaluate on several criteria. And I will show you that during the video of the demonstrator. These rational methodologies are based on one principle introduced by Herbert Simon. It is called the limited rationality principle. So this principle is very old, but it is still ongoing, and all researches are based on this principle. So it means that we don't have any optimization, but we are talking about satisfying solution. So it means that we don't want to have the optimal solution. So what we want to have is a satisfying solution. So it means that it is more a consensus between several constraints if we are in a single decision maker paradigm, or it is based on a consensus among all the stakeholders if we are in a group decision-making paradigm. This principle has also several other items. So one of them is that all decisions are made one by one in a limited area. They are made in a progressive process, and decision makers can use contradictory criteria. So for example, if you want to buy a new phone, you will use the criteria of cost, and the cost you generally want to minimize it. And you can want to have another criteria that is a design. So you generally want to have the best design of the telephone, and it implies that the price of the telephone will be increased. So in this case, you will use two contradictory criteria. In one criteria, the price, you want to minimize it. And in the other case, so you want to maximize the design, that implies to maximize the price. So we accept to have these contradictory criteria in this principle. And the last item is the following. So we are no more in a global utility function. So it means that we accept the fact that we cannot model the decision problem in a global utility function, which is in contradiction with the von Neumann and Morgenstern hypothesis, very well known in economy. So if I come back to the decision support, so we have rational methodologies, but we also have non-rational methodologies, like, for example, implicit favorite model. So it means that the decision maker has in mind the best solution, that is his implicit favorite model. And we have some methodologies coming from psychology, sociology, to support the decision maker to explicit this implicit favorite. We can also have some other kind of non-rational methodologies, like organizational anarchy, for example, and it is based on sociology, and it means that the decisions are made by regulation between agents, and we don't have any optimization in this kind of methodologies. So all the researchers that are done are based on multi-criteria paradigm, are based on Bernard Roy and Denis Bouissou, for which we have 3 postulates. The first one is the first order reality postulate. So it means that all decision makers are able to give a ranking of all the alternatives. This is called the first order reality postulate. The second postulate is called the decision maker postulate. So it means that all the decisions are made by a human, by the decision maker, and it is not done in an automatic way. And the third one is the optimum postulate. So it means that we want to find the optimum solution for the decision makers. That is the same thing that the satisfying solution. If I go to the decision support systems, so I made here a very brief history. So at the beginning, we had the management information system area and the operational research area. And in the 70s, we have the introduction of personal computers on the desktop of the executive manager. So the combination with these personal computers, operational research area, and management information area gave the decision support systems area. During the 90s, we were faced to a huge volume of data. And based on this fact, on this issue, we had a new kind of decision support systems called data warehouse. And during the 90s also, we saw it appear some new systems, the group decision support systems. We had also some artificial intelligence tools like knowledge-based reasoning or knowledge-based system introduced in decision support systems that was called then intelligent decision support systems. And then around the 2000s, the introduction in internet in organization, we were faced to new kind of decision. So you have here the first architecture of decision support systems that have been introduced by Sprague and Carlson. So you find a database management system in which you have all the data to make the decision. And you have here the model-based management system in which you can find all the model that of the decision to make. And then the user will make the will solve the problem and will make the decision by interaction with between the man and the machine. So it means that we need to have a good human-computer interface to support him. And the solution is found by interaction between the human and the system. Okay, So this is the first definition of decision support systems. It has been introduced by Keane and Scott Morton. So these systems support decision makers in their semi-structured decision-making processes. So it means that if the decision is very structured, we are no more in decision support systems, but we are more in automatic rules, and it is no more called decision support systems. These systems are developed to help rather than replace decision maker judgment. And what we want to do developing these systems is to improve effectiveness and efficiency of decision making. If I go now to the second kind of decision support systems that are called intelligent decision support systems, so you can find the same architecture with the database management system, the model-based management system, but we also have an inference engine able to produce new part of solution for the end user. And these new part of solutions are based on a knowledge base that is somewhere modeled in the system. Okay, so I said previously that around 2000, the introduction of internet in organization modified the decision-making process. So what we said is that the information communication technologies modified these processes at two levels. First of all, at the organizational level. So we are no more faced to a decision-making process with one actor, one decision maker, but we have several actors involved in a decision-making process and contributing to this process. And it is also modified at the cognitive level. So the decision-making cognitive process is composed by 4 steps. The first step is the intelligence, in which you find information about the decision to make. Then you have the design step, so in which you begin to model the problem. Then you have the choice step, in which you choose a satisfying solution, and then you have the last step, that is the review step. So based on the introduction of these information communication technologies, we have much more information, so we are faced to much more information, and the intelligence step is very fuzzy. You have a lot of information and you have to sort all this information, and it is for us the reinforcement of the sorting step. So we are faced to new kind of decision called cooperative decision. So to support this new kind of decision, we develop a framework, a cooperative decision support systems, that is based on the previous architectures that I presented to you. So we have several actors. In this cooperative decision support system, we can find again the database management system, the model-based management system. We also have a knowledge base in which you can find part of solutions of problem of decision that have been already solved. And you can have several parts, so helping the group of decision makers to make a decision. So you have what we call interpersonal communication, of course, to allow all the actors to communicate among them. You have a knowledge management tool in which you can storage all the decisions that have been made, and you have a task management tool supporting the group in managing the decision-making process in the same way that you can manage a project, for example. And you can find what we call dynamical human-computer interface. So what does it mean? It means that the system, by this kind of tools, can recommend to the end user some solution or some part of solutions. But the end user is always the one who will make the decision. It is not made in an automatic way. So based on this framework, so in the researches that I conduct, we have two approaches, a group perspective and a recommendation perspective. In this project, we work only on the first perspective, the group perspective that I will present later. These two perspectives are based on one paradigm that is a multi-criteria approach, so that is called generally multi-criteria decision-making or multi-criteria decision attribute or analysis. So I will go now in deeper details in the group perspective. So what are group decision support systems? So it's a mix of devices, software, person, processes, allowing collaboration among a group of persons. And you have here another definition. It's a mix of computers, communications, technologies of decision working together to support problem identification, formulating, and generating solutions during work meetings. The authors of this kind of system gave some advantages. So they said that you have a lot of literature about this kind of systems. So they improve the group efficiency in time, for example, time reduction. So it is seen on a tangible point of view, and by increasing also the number of good ideas. But the efficiency can be seen also on an intangible point of view that is very difficult to quantify. So it improves the group cohesion, it improves the problem definition, and it gives a good group commitment. So you have several kinds of group decision systems. So here you have what we call the decision rules. So it means that all the decision makers are located in the same time and same place. Everyone has a computer working with this computer, and you have here a specific computer for the facilitator, allowing him to show to everybody part of the solution or part of the idea that have been brainstormed. These are the old version of group decision support systems, and you have now new versions that are web-oriented. So you have the same functionalities, but everyone is not located at the same place. You can do it in your own office like we do it now in a distributed way. Okay, so I talk a little bit about the facilitator. So it is a specific role in this kind of system. So what is the definitions or what are the definitions of the facilitation? So what we can say is that it is an important impact on the group outputs and productivity. So it is seen like activities done before, during, and after collective decision meeting to support the group to reach their objectives defined during the decision process. Or it can see also as a process to reach an external person of the group, non-concerned by the decision, officially recognized and accepted by the group, is employed to support a group engaged in a decision-making process. So you can have several kinds of facilitation. So technical, so it means that the facilitator will assist the stakeholder on a technology point of view. You can have also facilitation on a process point of view. So it means that the facilitator will moderate the stakeholders and their interaction in the task achievement in order to make a rise in the meeting objectives and to guide the participants. So it means that he will help to define the process of making the decision. Or you can have facilitation on the content. So it implies to directly deal with the problem to solve. So in order to support the facilitator in these different kinds of facilitation, you have several tools of facilitation. So you have tools on the content-oriented. So for example, here you have several systems that have been developed in the literature. So I can comment this one, for example, done by Yuan in 2008. So in this system, you have automatic idea clustering. So it means that all decision makers will give idea on the decision problem, and the system is able to make clustering between several ideas. Or you can have also systems supporting the facilitation on a process point of view. So for example, here you have the work done by Nunamaker and his colleagues, in which he produced several indicators on the activity of the groups, indicators on the time consuming, on the number of ideas produced, and we have they develop a system able to analyze all these indicators in order to measure the efficiency of the group. Here you have a system developed by Kader Adler. So he proposed a process of facilitation that is the following. So in this process, you have a pre-meeting step in which the facilitator will create the agenda and select the participants. Then you have the main step of the facilitation, so during the meeting, in which we will generate the alternatives, organize the alternatives, evaluate the alternatives, and choose a solution. And then you have the last step, that is the post-meeting facilitation process, in which he will present the solution and report. You have several work that have been done on multi-criteria group decision making. So for example, Cathy Macaris from Belgium developed a group decision support system based on the Prometheus methodology, which is a multi-criteria methodology, in which decision makers can give their individual preferences. All of them have their own criteria, so it means that they don't share the criteria, and they will give their own performance matrix. So we will have one performance matrix by decision maker. Then we have a global aggregation for the group. It is based on a weighted sum. So the methodology that she developed is called MAMCA. The main advantage of this methodology and system is the sensitivity analysis. So the system is able to show you on a plan the position of each stakeholders or decision maker and what would be the main position for the group. So it is very interesting in this sense. But there are some limits of this work. So there are no collaboration, no common sharing. So every decision maker has his own criteria and everyone works with their own criteria. And there are no co-decision, what I call co-decision. So we developed a system called GRUS, like a group system. So it's a web-based application. It is more like a toolbox. You have here the name of all the students participating in the development of this system. So it is based on the Grails framework. It is an open source, which is an open source framework. The system is fully open source, available upon a request. So if you want to use it, let us know, we will support you. It can be used on several situations, so same time, same place, different time, same place, different time, different place, same time, different place. So generally, in decision-making process, we use this kind of system in synchronous and collocated situation and in synchronous and distributed situations. These two situations, very well known in the computer-supported collaborative work, are not generally used for decision-making processes. In our system, in the GRUS system, we have two roles, the facilitator and several participants. So we develop several functionalities. So we can have two kinds of meetings, public meetings and private meetings. We develop several tools. Okay, I will go here. So GRUS, as I told, as I mentioned previously, is a toolbox. So it means that we develop several kinds of tools, so like brainstorming, clustering, multi-criteria, criteria decision, vote, etc. So you have the list here. And the main advantage of this system is that we can combine all of these tools in order to create flexible processes. So you have here several kinds of process that we created, in which first of all we adjust the parameters, then we do brainstorming in this one, then we vote. In this one, after the parameter step, we generate the criteria and the alternatives, then we evaluate, etc. So the main processes that we use for the RUCA project are the multi-criteria decision-making process. So in which, first of all, the facilitator adjusts the parameters. So what are the parameters? Mainly, it is the weight stakeholders. So it means that we say for this decision-making problem, we know that this person is more expert, so she will have or he will have a more importance. Then all the stakeholders will brainstorm, so give criteria and alternatives, so they will define them. Then all of them will give their own preferences, their individual preferences on the multi-criteria decision matrix. Then the facilitator will display the result. Then we will make a decision together, what is the best solution. And then we will have the final report. So you have a second multi-criteria decision-making process that is more or less the same, except that we have this step, the clustering step, that is done to reduce the number of alternatives and the number of criteria. So I can show you now a demonstrator, a video of this system. And this demonstrator, this video has been done in collaboration with University of La Plata, with the LIFIA, thanks to Alejandro and Gabriela, who visited us during several months. So tell me if you see the video.
Really good.
Okay, so I will try to finish quickly because I already used all my time. So this was a video about the multi-criteria decision-making process. We also have other decision-making process like vote, okay? Okay, so what we did during the RECAPS project, we did a lot of experiments with all our partners, so mainly with AINIA, University Polytechnique de Valencia, FEDACOVA, Innovation for Agriculture, INIA, LIFIA, UNLP. So we conducted 13 secondments and 12 hosted secondments. So you have here some pictures of our experiment using mainly the multi-criteria and the vote process. And we had feedback about the usability of the system. So the feedback that we had was based on 27 teaching and experimentation sessions conducted on 3 years for 4 countries and 6 different partners. And based on this feedback, what we saw is that the system was not very easily usable. So we implemented a new system based on the recommendation process, and we try to simplify the system. So it is based on the management perspective, on which you have several levels of decisions, several levels of management, operational level, tactic level, or strategic level. And we adapt the process, the decision-making process, to the level of management. So it means that the facilitator will give some parameters at the beginning of the decision-making process. And depending on the level of management, we will use a brainstorming tool for the strategic level, a vote tool for tactic management level, or multi-criteria tool for the operational level. So it is implemented in a new system developed by Amir Saka called CRUDA, and these are the tools that have been implemented. So this is one of the outcomes that we had during this project. So we also have several other outcomes. So what we also had as a feedback is that multi-criteria approach is very time consuming. So we did some experiment with the analytical hierarchical processing methodology developed by Saati. And we saw that it was very long and complex and too long for businessmen. So in collaboration with the University of La Plata, a new system called Logicos was implemented based on the cognitive decision-making process, in which you have an automatic feed during the intelligence step. So I will not detail everything, so I go to another outcome. So what we also had as a feedback is that testing this kind of system is very long, very time consuming. And what we develop is an automatic or semi-automatic way of testing this kind of system. And it is done in collaboration with University of La Plata. Again, it is based on scenario approach in software engineering area. What we also have done is a combination of several tools. So first of all, we use a tomato scenario. So what we have seen also is that generating the solution is very also time consuming. And we use a scenario on tomato developed by University of Polytechnic of Valencia. It is based on 3 objectives, so supply chain profit, supply chain waste minimizing, and minimizing the unfulfilled demand. So what we did, we generate or simulate solutions with an optimization model presented by Mariva last week. And then we use the system to rank all these solutions, so to have a final ranking. Based on this combination of two approaches, we did 2 kinds of experiments, one with researchers and another one with real businessmen at Fedakova. And we obtained several results on, we saw that for researchers, the main objective was the supply chain maximizing the supply chain profit. And for the businessmen, they have for objective to maximize the supply chain profit, but also they use the supply chain, minimizing supply chain waste and unfulfilled demand. As a long-term outcome of this project, we also submit a new project at the STIC Am Sud program with University of La Plata, and we had some collaboration with AIN. So you can find several video and links our implication in this project. You have here some publications that we did with all our colleagues, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for your presentation. Fully appreciate it. Is there any question or comment from the audience about the group's development? Maybe try to share some experience. Alejandro, you would like to say something about the development of experience?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks, Pascal, for your presentation. And there's a special thanks that I want to make to the RUCAPS project, because we haven't worked with Pascal in the past, and thanks to the RUCAPS project, even though we have done some group decision support systems and we did some work in this area, getting in contact with Pascal took us to a next level, I think. I'm not sure if we are in the next level, but at least it shows us the next level of what is group decision support system. So this was thanks to the RUCAPS project and to you, Jorge, that invited us to participate. So after that introduction, we have done a lot with Pascal, and we plan to do a lot more. And more than questions regarding GRUS that I've explored a bit, I've got questions regarding decision support systems in general. So there are two, I mean, I want to hear Pascal's opinion on this. There are two challenges or two kind of contradictions that I find always when I think about recommender systems, decision support systems. One regards the kind of border or trade-off between rational decisions and intuitive decisions. Going back to one of the first slides that Pascal showed, there is rational decisions, and there are those decisions that are more made on intuition, guts, experience. And what I feel I'm doing when I do decision support systems is try to find a balance between these two ways of thinking about decisions. And then I find the same challenge when I think about group decision support systems. On one extreme, we can think of a group as they are all collaborating to try to make their criteria explicit and agree on a decision. And on the other extreme, we've got groups or sets of people making decisions where they compete to each other, they try to win. It's the totally opposite of cooperation. So decision support systems is always in between these forces, rational, intuitive, cooperative, competitive. It's always like that, or how do you manage to do research in between these forces?
It is a very hard question, but I will try to answer. Okay, so you have some research like the one done by Cathy Maccaris that I mentioned in Belgium, in which they don't support the communication and collaboration or competition between the stakeholders. So the approach is you have several decision makers. All of them have their own preferences, and we aggregate everything on a mathematical point of view. That is done. You also have some publications saying that competition is a kind of cooperation. This is the extreme case of cooperation, competition. So it means that you can provide competition among the stakeholders or decision makers. You can accept competition, but the main objective of the problem, so solving the problem, must be filling. So it means that if the competition becomes too high or too hard, sometimes you will not reach a solution. So you have to find a consensus, a balance between this competition and the problem to solve. So the main objective of the system is to support, to find a solution and to make the process finish and without any problem. So I don't see a lot of papers, a lot of systems supporting competition. So, but you have a lot of systems on negotiation support system. For example, on Negoist is one of this kind of system. When you have several offers and you have to find one of the best offer, this kind of system are able to support you to find the best way to negotiate. So negotiation is a kind of competition. Any more questions? So sorry for the problem with the video. So I didn't expect that, but okay.
No problem. I mean, this is the sort of uncertainty that we need to deal with every day. So we are fully prepared for all this. So no worries.
I didn't.
Also, the video is available. So.
Okay, I didn't comment the video because I thought that you was hearing the music with the video. I didn't do any comment.
No worries. Yeah, it's fine. So Pascal, just from my side, I would like to know before, what do you think that is the future of decision support systems, considering the new challenge of COVID-19 and any other type of pandemic that is affecting decisions nowadays? So how do you see the future of decision support systems?
In general, what I see as a future for decision support system is more oriented with a combination with artificial intelligence tool. So perhaps it's because I am in a department of artificial intelligence. There are a lot of work on combining text mining or text interpretation with decision support system. For example, for law, analyzing in an automatic way all the law documentations. This is an example. So this is in the general way the evolution of decision support systems. In relation with the COVID, the coronavirus, so I don't know exactly. So what I see is that you have several works done for decision support in crisis, for crisis management. And they are based more on probability of occurrence of one event. And so it is, I saw several kind of system on crisis management and how to support decision in such a crisis. So you have the several parameters that are taken into account, like for example the level of urgency or emergency. All these kind of parameters are taken into account with a probability assigned to all parameters. Okay.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Hello, Mariana.
Hello, good morning. Good morning for us. My question is, if GRUS is, or what are your experience, better with industrial activities or I don't know, not biological activities, or agronomic or biological activities? Because my question is about the data that you have. For example, in the video that you show, it's not, for example, the branches that you leave in a tomato is not a decision by our own. It's a technical decision. You have to make an essay, an experiment, and you show what is better, and you assess what is better. You have to evaluate this. So this is my question. In which kind of problems is better to use these kind of tools?
The tool is designed to be used in every kind of situations. And at the end of my presentations, I related the system with the level of management, and I make the distinction between among three levels of management: strategical, tactical, and operational. In the video, the level of management was operational management. And what we say is that depending on this level of management, it's better to use one tool rather than another tool, you see? So we implemented several kinds of tools. So one is a multi-criteria. This is one of the video. And you have also brainstorming, you have also clustering. So clustering means that you can aggregate ideas all together, ideas which are very close. So what we say in the evolution of the system is that, for example, at a strategical level, we don't use multi-criteria evaluation because it's too long, too complex, too time-consuming. What generally do people at the strategic level? It's more brainstorming. They brainstorm, giving idea, and the tool that we propose is a tool helping to brainstorm and to make cluster of idea with text mining, for example. You see what I mean?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
I have a question, Pascal. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. I thought that it's very interesting. And I would like to know your opinion about how to combine or how do you think there is a future research line about the combination of mathematical modeling with groups. Do you think that it would be possible to make a model-based decision support system based on mathematical programming model inside groups, or what's your opinion?
So yes, what we can do, and we already I already did that during the past. So we can take a problem, the tomato problem. So we make a mathematical optimization model like you did. We embedded the model in a system, and then you can make it as a group of decision makers. So it means that for each decision makers, you can have several parameters that can be tuned differently. And then we can allow with not GRUS exactly, because for the moment it is not known for that, but we can program a new system in which we can take into account all the parameters of all decision makers inside one mathematical group. But there are some publications about decision support systems based on mathematical programming, and I did that during my PhD, so a long time ago.
Yes, but group decision making, group decision support making also.
For group
collaborative based on mathematical modeling. Yes.
Collaborative based on mathematical programming. What I see is that if we want to develop a system on that basis, we need to allow each participant each decision maker to allow them to tune their own parameters. For example, you have to give the possibility to one decision maker to activate one constraint or deactivate another constraint, and give this possibility to another one, and it would allow each decision makers to have their own preferences inside the mathematical model. You see? You understand what I mean?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
But for me, it's a PhD subject.
Yes, I think. Thank you. We can propose it.
Yeah. The problem is to find the financial support.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Thank you, Pascal.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the questions. I'm sure is any other question coming from the audience? Well, just let me remind you that the video is available in the website. Pascal also is open to answer your question maybe later on in case you have any specific questions. I would like to thank you, Pascal, for her presentation. It's been very useful, but also reflect how the collaboration in the project can be seen in some substantial result. And we can see that eventually, you know, this connection between France, Spain, Argentina, the UK, and everything start happening in a very nice manner, I would say. So thank you everybody for attending this session. And don't forget that we have more sessions during the week.
Okay, thank you everyone for
thank you to Pascal.
Your
thank you,
participation.
Thank you, Pascal, for the beautiful presentation.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
See you
Pascal.
tomorrow. Bye.
Thank
See
you.
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Pascal.
Bueno, a ver.